And welcome back to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. As we look back at 2012, one of the biggest news headlines of the year was Hurricane Sandy and its devastating effects still felt by so many today. Take a look.
When it comes to describing the damage Sandy wrought, definitives are being used. The worst disaster to ever hit the New York City subway system. The highest storm surge ever to inundate downtown Manhattan. The damage to New Jersey also unprecedented.
The idea that you see homes in the middle of Route 35, southbound and northbound, is just unfathomable.
In New York, a huge fire destroyed dozens of homes in a swath of tightly packed houses in a flooded Queens neighborhood. 3 people were injured and firefighters were forced to undertake daring rescues.
I walked through the part of Breezy Point that was absolutely devastated by the wind-fed, fast-moving fires that took out more than 80 homes last night.
I lost everything, how you can see. So I don't have place, I don't have anything. I'm alive, but it's hard, so hard. I lost everything. I have my family, my 2 daughters, my husband.
Awful to see those images. You just can't believe the devastation. Once again, the death toll from Hurricane Sandy now stands at 131 in the United States. Wow. About 63 billion with a B dollars worth of damage in the U.S. It took 8.5 weeks, but the U.S. Senate late yesterday passed obviously a badly needed about $61 billion aid package to help the victims of Hurricane Sandy. Now the House just has to get on board. What is the hesitation? Why did it take 8.5 weeks? I mean, that
because
in
no
and
one
of
wants
itself
to
is a
admit that
problem.
the future is now. That actually the effects of climate change,
Yeah.
that we turn the corner. It's happening right now. And with, what is it, 90% of the world's population living by the water, this is something that is right before us. And it hit us this year, and it's going to hit us again next year.
Is there a chance that the House won't pass this bill? I mean,
yes, there is.
How is that even possible?
Well,
I mean, how is that possible?
Remember that caucus, the Tea Party caucus, is pretty much anti-big government and really would probably
anti-helping people who have lost
they're going to want to
their
see what
livelihoods
exactly
and
is in that bill. If there are things in that bill,
they're going to cut it down. They're
going to try to cut it down, I think, a little bit. At the end of the day, hopefully we can politicize it enough to put pressure on them to get the funds in. Obviously, those funds are absolutely needed, and it's already $2 billion short of what's actually needed.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, the initial estimates I think that we heard were about 50. Now it's 63. It should be 65. It's a lot of money. I mean, but a lot of people that I know still, for example, don't have cars. They can't get the insurance. They can't get the FEMA. They can't get the, they can't. They don't.
A lot of people don't have electricity either.
Exactly.
That's right.
And so, when you're looking at it, and this is America. This is the United States. This is not a third world country, although we operate as it in some parts of the country. Oftentimes,
and we said it wasn't Katrina.
And this is the industrialized nation. We have the world's largest economy. The world's largest economy. We need to do better for people.
Some just say this isn't a federal issue in terms of giving these people aid.
It's absolutely a federal issue.
Francesca, you sent us an article about this bozo David Koch.
Yeah.
Who's going on this whole rant of it's not a federal issue. We should not give aid to these victims.
It's absurd.
For real?
Of course it's federal. It's multiple states involved. You need coordination across states. And here's the lesson that I hope Congress will learn from this, that we're going to take this $60 billion and do some sort of infrastructure Band-Aid work on the areas hit hardest. We have to become more proactive and more progressive about infrastructure development in this country. We can actually build infrastructure that can help us to mitigate the forces of climate change in this country. And we got to start doing that stuff right now.
How do we do it? Is that on the agenda? Is that really at the top of Obama's agenda?
Well, I mean, climate change keeps getting pushed to the back of the line.
Right.
Sadly.
Back burner, no pun intended.
Right.
Right. And this, if anything, would be a wallop over the head in much the same way that the Sandy, Hook Elementary School shooting was on a different issue about gun control. It should bring it to the forefront and keep it in the front of people's minds. But I will tell you that I don't know that this alone will do it. There may be yet another thing that had to happen. We know Katrina, what happened there. This was sort of our northeastern Katrina. A lot of people played the blame game there. They wanted to keep it local. They wanted to just say that it's the folks in Louisiana, the folks in Texas, the folks in the Panhandle that has their own mess to clean up, and that a lot of those folks, needed to take care of it within their own states and their elected leaders. They're needed to take care of it. On this level, though, there's never a better cause for federal aid. And as far as helping the people,
how do we help them, those who are still suffering? How do we
put
do
pressure
it?
on the Congress to make sure that this bill is passed. Obviously, there's things like the Red Cross and other entities are still accepting aid and accepting support. They need to send they don't need any more materials or like food. They actually need money. So it's better, rather than sending stuffed animals, better to send resources to the Red Cross. But at the end of the day, this is a government problem. This is the textbook case of when and why you need government.
I mean, on Friday, to House members, Governor Cuomo, Governor Chris Christie, Connecticut Governor Daniel Malloy, they said if tens of thousands of your constituents' homes and businesses were destroyed, would you stay silent? Would you let money
Absolutely
pass
not.
without the House
My
taking
backyard.
any action? That's the
and also,
problem.
can we just clarify this as well? This $60 billion this is taxpayer money.
Right.
This is not the Congress's money. It's
I
not
know.
the
Why
government
do
money.
they care?
This is
Right.
money from all
It's
the
my
people
money.
in the New York, New Jersey area who have paid taxes and worked and paid taxes throughout their whole lifetime. This is our money. And so it makes sense to us that we would, in some very, very efficient ways, use it to help those who
It
need
makes sense to you and it makes sense to me, but think about it this way. What if this actually is about a developing trend, about this sort of thing happening on a yearly basis multiple times over the
forbid.
next decade? Then what? Does that mean we have to go into the coffers of the federal government every time?
It means that we have to become more proactive.
We
about
certainly
it.
do.
When our
Gotta
people-
become
when
more
our
We got to
country
get a
needs
fact-finding
help.
commission together to find out how to protect those areas that are going to be hit again.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really simple ways. Obviously, there are barrier reefs and certain natural things that we have to cultivate to protect us against flooding. There's some man-made things around levees and engineering that we can invest more money in. There's lots of infrastructure things that we can do in terms of power lines and moving them underground. And then there's things that we can do to help to preserve our environment, like carbon taxes and things. I mean, it's not rocket science what needs to happen.
Well, we should say, some areas are being rebuilt, some are not. People in the Rockaways feel very frustrated.
Right.
Suffice it to say, some feel neglected. Let's see what they have to say.
We have no water at all, no electricity, all the food we had to throw out of the refrigerator, so this is very needed right now.
Hundreds of people lined up for up to 5 hours to receive critical necessities like food and diapers from local churches and aid organizations.
It's a little difficult, it's a little rough. I can get through it. I've been through a lot of old times before. So we try to stick together and do what we have to do, and hopefully the community will stick together.
Organizers said residents of the neighborhood were beginning to feel like the city was slow to respond to their needs.
There's a lot of frustration. There's a sense of there's a sense where there's like they have no value. They see that other areas are being taken care of, and they totally overlooked us. Now, a couple days later, we're finally getting some resources, and most of the resources that have come in so far have not come from the city. They've come from different organizations, charitable organizations.
Right, saying not coming from the city. On December 15th, Occupy Sandy was organized. Actually, they held a protest in front of Mayor Bloomberg's residence. If you're Mayor Bloomberg, does that send you a message? Does it say we got to do something more? I mean, it can't hurt, right?
It can't hurt.
It
can't hurt. I think any time that you're trying to hold your elected leaders accountable in some way, there's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly apply pressure at a certain level, but institutionally, at a very sort of systemic level, there need to be other changes that are made. Sure, you can protest and you can hold signs and things like that, but in terms of actually putting the pressure on your elected leaders in a way that is, through the formal channels of government is also going to be a critical.
But if you don't have electricity and heat, how do you do that?
Right, not those folks. No, you
Right,
need to
I'm
come
just-
together
yeah.
and speak on their behalf. I mean, people that don't have,
we
that
need to
do
do
have
it.
it.
Yes.
It's
Exactly.
a good
Like we're
time
doing
for
now.
Michael Bloomberg to actually step up and to cement a legacy for himself. He's always looking for that opportunity. The biggest opportunity was visited upon him, and I feel he hasn't really stepped up to the plate and taken full advantage of the opportunity. He needs to do this.
Right.
I think this is upon him to do this.
The great thing about Mayor Bloomberg, for all of his detractors and people who don't like him so much, is that he is pretty forward-thinking on two really, really important issues. One of them is gun control, and the other one is climate change.
True. It's
The
true.
question is, can he rally the economic forces in New York to get behind him? Because remember, there's, when we talk about the big challenges that we're facing, our economy and those folk mostly just interested in industry and business, that's antithetical to what we need to do in terms of our society sometimes. The environment is one of those issues, climate change, fuel efficiency, and fuel independency. Those are all filed into that category, as is gun control. But Mayor Bloomberg's out front on those things. He's got to, legacy-wise, rouse it, bring the troops together,
Gun
really
control
focus
for
on those
sure.
issues and move forward.
And,
on
and
that.
he's also doing great at his Spanish. Have you heard?
Oh, he's awful.
He's got a.
He'll just never have that accent down.
never.
But he tries.
Oh my God!
Right.
Don't try anymore, please,
Right,
Mr.
right.
Mayor.
But I
please.
think but all kidding aside, we talk about the devastation in the Rockaways and these people still without the basic necessities. You don't really know what it's like until you're in their shoes and
That's
you
right.
realize the desperation that these people are experiencing. And we can talk and we can talk, but when will this end? I mean, when will people finally get back on their feet? I mean, I'm going to say it's going to take at least a year for normalcy, to be some sense of normalcy to be.
I don't think the Jersey Shore will be back this year. I mean, again, we need to be more proactive. Our elected officials have to connect with the people they're supposed to represent so they can represent them properly.
Well, the thing is, you have some people from local, the Jersey Shore, you have some local elected officials going down to the southern states and trying to ask the mayors there and stuff, how did you deal with, Katrina? What were some of the, structural changes that you made afterwards? You have them at this point going down there to try and actually, elicit strategies that they could use up here. But all of those things take time. I mean, they're sort of in this fact-finding mission. They don't know. They haven't been in this situation before, and that's going to take a while to even do that. Excuse me?
On whose dime are they doing that?
The cities, hopefully.
The cities. Is it their responsibility to actually to support that sort of fact-finding? I think it should.
I think, yeah, of course. I mean, this is directly in relation.
Well, the mayors have different networks, and those things are supported by specific municipalities. Some of them also get some federal support. Again, the federal government has an important role to play here because the federal government could very, very easily coordinate the information exchange that we're talking about. I'm not sure if they're involved in this.
And that's always a problem.
Speaking of information exchange, a lot of people were talking about the information exchange between Obama and Chris Christie, sort of this bromance. We touched upon it earlier. I think a lot of people took their eye off the ball and focused on them instead of the devastation at hand. But let's take a look.
I don't give a damn about Election Day. It doesn't matter a lick to me at the moment. I've got much bigger fish to fry than that. So do the people of the state of New Jersey. So let the politicians who are on the ballot worry about Election Day. It's not my problem. I'm not dealing with it at the moment. As we get closer, I endorsed Mitt Romney 13 months ago because I thought he was the best guy for the job. And on Tuesday, I'm voting for Mitt Romney because I think he's the best guy for the job. But it doesn't mean that I can't turn to the President of the United States of America and say to him, thank you, sir, for providing good leadership in this crisis and for helping the people of New Jersey, and to extend my hand of friendship. This shows you how broken our political system is. Because I say something nice about someone who does their job well, somehow that takes away my endorsement of Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, the frustration is right on point. Exactly.
We've seen a lot of people.
It's apples and oranges here.
We've seen a lot of politicians that were Republicans switch Democrat or go independent. Joe
Lieberman,
even Bloomberg switched parties around. So it's not the first time that's happened. Who knows what's in Christie's future? But I think, though, at a fundamental level, not so much the federal state issue, the federal local issue, but a lot of people aren't paying attention to this so much because we've become so individuated in our society. We're not concerned about the collective. We've actually been told that the collective is wrong. We've been told that the collective is bad. And instead, you want to fight for yourself, and you have a lot, because it's been sort of put in this narrative where opportunity means freedom, means independence, means liberty, at the exclusion of sort of the collective and what's good in terms of looking out for your neighbor.
It's always,
that is not really, I don't think, a valuable dynamic, and that's what Christie was saying.
That is despicable. This national disaster, and I mean, of course he's going to rely on the president. Of course, if he's doing a good job, of course he's going to say it has nothing to do with party lines.
Francesca is touching upon actually the need for political parties to create adversarial relationships to actually to divide and conquer, to keep everybody from one another, to unify and see that we're all on the same page, we're all on the same team ultimately, and I think that is a dangerous situation. And he has crossed the bridge. What did you say?
I said unless you can buy your own private island.
Listen, the reason why people were so deeply invested in this relationship between the governor and the president is because it reflects what the American people want, which is for the political parties to put aside their BS and actually work together on the tough challenges facing us. So there's a reason why they're engaged in such a way, why we're all infatuated with it, because it actually portends nicely for the future if this kind of collaboration can actually be sustained. And also remember, Chris Christie is a governor of a very blue state. And so for him, he can't align himself with the Republicans in the ways in which they sort of require Republicans to align themselves with the party line.
What do you think, Christie versus Clinton in 2016?
Possible.
Highly
Christie
possible.
and Clinton. Come on.
I don't know about
Not
that.
likely.
All right, well,
I'm
we
not sure about
we want to
that.
encourage you to join the conversation on Twitter, hashtag Freshoutlook. We didn't get to it, guys, but along with Sandy, there's so many other natural disasters in 2012. You know, the 2012 North American drought. We didn't get into earthquakes caused by fracking, climate change in general. So a lot to discuss. Just keep that in mind. Just ahead on Fresh Outlook, the final topic on our year in review show, the tragedy, of course, in Newtown, Connecticut. That's next. Stay with us. You're watching Fresh Outlook.